Newcastle. Newcastle in the wider northeast is often regarded by many in Britain as friendlier and more sociable than other regions in the UK. Whilst it may be economically poorer and smaller than most other cities, the idea that Geordies are friendlier to everyone is usually privately disagreed upon. They are friendly, but the issue is they're friendly to their own. In the comment sections of many newspapers, one will find comments that say that Geordies are very friendly people, as long as you're not a refugee, have addiction issues, on benefits, are from Sunderland, or from most other religious backgrounds, and foreign. In spite of these obstacles, many black and brown people who continue to reside in the northeast are often praised by their counterparts in London and southern UK for being thicker-skinned than most and courageous to press on within a region that is also regarded as more racist than most other regions in the UK. Nevertheless, there are several people of colour who were born and raised in Newcastle and have made it home.
I'm a Nigerian living in Newcastle. Of course I love the Geordie people. They are kind, free-spirited and friendly. They're just so nice.
So you racist?
Proper. But cool fucking black bastards. And I am called Mrs. Bukovic, and I'm married to a Serbian. I'm married to a Serbian. And
bro, being black and living up north is not for the weak. Living in Manny, Liverpool, Newcastle, whatever, Leeds, yo, I know you can relate to this. But you'd be getting vials left, right and centre, bro.
British songwriter and former lead singer of the Lighthouse family, Tunde Baiyewu, British TV presenter and journalist Nana Akua, and former Newcastle striker Shola Ameobi. All hail from Newcastle, they all derive from Newcastle, and often mention the positive aspects of their livelihood growing up in the northeast. One underspoken topic amongst many people of colour is, surprise, surprise, racism. Victim cake. Is the card coming out? And excuses are often some of the responses outsiders render when people of colour dare venture deeper into any detail about some of the experiences and assaults they have received exclusively because of the colour of their skin. However, with the rise of the cost of living crisis, immigration debates and joblessness, a combination of deep-rooted prejudices and media portrayals has led to the increase of vicious and despicable assaults amongst many people of colour within the region, which many would rather sweep under the carpet and often ignore. This is explained perfectly by Charles Simpson and Cara Jacobsen, who state in their book, Integration and Resettlement of Refugees and Forced Migrants, the following. The main perpetrators of racism, according to many migrant communities residing in Newcastle-Upon-Tyne, are uneducated, poverty-stricken residents. Many are reluctant to discuss racist experiences and tend to describe them as one-off instances carried out by troubled individuals. Whilst the statement, most people are friendly, or mostly people are friendly, may be public opinion, it could also function as a way for participants to talk about their experiences of racism without appearing to be ungrateful in the eyes of the host society. A good example of this can be seen by the former Trinidad and Tobago and Newcastle goalkeeper, Shaka Hislop, who himself responded to an uncomfortable situation in an upright and dignified manner, so much so that it led to a lifelong career in educating children and young people and the wider society about showing racism the red card and how racism has no root within the nation and within the northeast. So much so that in February 2022, Shaka Hislop was awarded the Freedom of the City of Newcastle for his hard work in this area. And it is from there that we have today's topic highlighting in 2024 how racism and acts of racism continues to be a problem in this country and in this part of the country as a whole.
Yo, story time everyone. So on Monday, the 18th of September, at around 3:15 in the afternoon, I was quite blatantly racially discriminated against by the staff in Asda Gosforth. Hollywood Avenue, the big one, for the people who know the area. I don't know, there's been worse, you'll have seen worse incidents.
Of course, it is worth pointing out that these are actions from individuals and not from communities alike. These attacks have happened from the last year or within the last year between 2023 and 2024. Most of the attacks have come from individuals with troubled backgrounds and or repeat offenders. All the sources, where I get my sources from, can be found via my Pastebin link account, which the link is attached below. And also please bear in mind that there are several unverified accounts that have not made it to this video due to them either still being investigated, the lives of the people that has happened to being in danger, and previous attempts to document this kind of information has resulted in videos being taken down. And some of these assaults include staff abuse at hospitals, rental discrimination, security, hassling or harassment, criminal damage to private property, including cars and houses. The victim was working as a cleaner at Leonardo Hotel, formerly the Jury's Inn in Gateshead, on January the 8th last year. Around 10 AM he was on the 5th floor when Christian Joplin rushed out of his room and asked him what he was looking at before heading towards the lift. Newcastle Crown Court heard the worker then saw Joplin near the stairwell, and as he walked past him he called him a highly offensive racist name. When the man questioned if Joplin had used the word, Joplin punched him in the face and then tried to drag him into the lift. He then put his thumbs into the victim's eyes and pressed them with force. Joplin then pushed him onto the floor and repeatedly punched him whilst he was there. The hotel's deputy manager became aware of the attack and turned up on the scene and saw blood on the victim's face, and he had his hands up as if he was cowering over, and Joplin then continued to act aggressively. He then armed himself with a vodka bottle and ran towards both men, raising the bottle above his head. He then shouted at them to let him out of the building. The victim then ran to the first floor, where he was confronted by Joplin again, who punched him in the face, causing his lips to bleed. He went to the RVI, or the Royal Victoria Infirmary, in Newcastle, and was found to have a cut in his inner lip, swelling to his lower lip, reddening, and a hemorrhage to his eye, and another injury to the inner aspect of his eye. In a victim impact statement, the victim said, "This incident has left me feeling unsafe to leave my address. Whenever I do leave my address, I'm anxious and have panic attacks. I can't go back to work because of how this has impacted me. It left me wondering when next I could find myself in the right place at the wrong time." Joplin, a father of two, was sentenced to 12 months in prison. Lucas Jones. Lucas Jones of Sunderland was high on cocaine when he left a taxi driver with a broken nose, cracked jaw, 2 black eyes, 3 missing teeth, and needing 7 stitches to his face. The Uber driver was badly injured by this passenger, who spouted racist abuse on his way from Sunderland to Newcastle. The taxi driver, or should I say the Uber driver, had been tasked to pick up Lucas Jones' partner and then him in the early hours of May the 25th, 2023, and to take them from Sunderland to Newcastle. Jones, who had been drinking and taking cocaine, became racially abusive and aggressive during the journey before turning violent, saying things such as "drive on," and was abusive to his girlfriend. He punched the taxi windscreen, causing it to break. He then punched the taxi driver, who was driving at the time and temporarily lost control of the vehicle, and he can feel blood on his face at this point. The defendant continued the ill treatment of the driver and was complaining he was going the wrong way. He punched him in the face again. He asked where to drop him off, and the defendant said, "I will tell you," then punched him in the face again. He had to stop the car because of his injuries. The defendant continued to punch him in the face repeatedly until he ran out of the car. The female in the back wasn't saying anything. Jones then chased the taxi driver until he realised his girlfriend had also run off, and he began to pursue her instead. The taxi driver, who was in an unfamiliar area in Sunderland, managed to get to a housing estate and called the police, and an ambulance arrived to take him to the hospital. He was left with 2 black eyes. His nose was broken in 2 places. He lost 3 teeth. He had a cracked jaw. He needed 7 stitches in his face, and he had bruising to his mouth. In a victim impact statement, he said, "When the incident occurred, I felt rubbish. This was because I didn't argue or anything. It's just racism from the male. He assaulted me because he is racist, and I did nothing wrong. It left me in so much pain, physically and mentally. I was really struggling." He said he has had to halve his working hours as a result of the attack, and his family have suffered tremendously and financially. He added, "When a young person gets in the car, I start to panic in case anything happens. I also panic if I'm near the area where it happened. I can't work as much as I used to because of the mental effects of it. I can't concentrate for very long because of the injuries I've suffered. It also affected my sleeping pattern. I used to sleep very well, but now I find it difficult to sleep. I have been having nightmares because of the incident, and I wake up crying. I still feel very anxious because of the incident. I'm destroyed because of this incident. It really turned my life upside down." Lucas Jones, who was 27 at the time of being sentenced, is from Sunderland, and he has previous convictions of violence, including grievous bodily harm with intent, but prosecutors accepted guilty pleas to GBH and criminal damage. Glenn Gatlin, defending Jones and his partner, said that he has considerable remorse for this. The racial abuse was said in anger rather than being the principal motivation for the attack. He was plainly angry with his partner rather than the taxi driver to begin with. The defendant is a very hard-working man and very hard-playing man. When he is not working, he binges. Colin Dunn and Curtis Wiscombe. Colin Dunn and Curtis Wiscombe terrorised 2 members of the public, and they were jailed in April 2024. 2 men were targeted in separate, unprovoked attacks while going about their business in South Tyneside, after having the misfortune of encountering siblings Colin Dunn and Amber Dunn alongside Curtis Wiscombe. Newcastle Crown Court heard the offences happened in November 2023 at Hebburn Metro Station, and they were caught on CCTV. 2 friends were waiting for a train when the 3 obs got off the metro and started calling one of them a nonce for no reason. When that man got on the metro, they turned to his friend and punched him in the face. Colin Dunn then approached him and punched him in the face, and Wiscombe and Amber Dunn joined in the punching and kicking. They punched and kicked the victim, and they began to walk off before Amber Dunn again turned back and tried to grab the victim, who pushed her away. At which point Wiscombe said, "Get your hands off my lass," and punched him 2 or 3 times. Colin Dunn then demanded the man's money, then his bag, before Amber Dunn alerted the others to security cameras in the area. The victim was left with a split lip. He said in a statement, "The incident left me feeling frustrated. I use the metro all the time and rely on it for transport, particularly to attend my place of work. This was a totally random and unprovoked attack. I'm now more aware of my surroundings. This has made me worry, and I'm very aware of people being loud on public transport." This was a totally random attack which shows any members of the public was not safe from them. This could have been so much worse for me when there were moving trains in the area. As the trio left the metro station, they encountered another man, and Colin Dunn repeatedly punched him with a left hook, and the victim was kicked and stamped on. Wiscombe shouted a racist insult as he walked away. That victim said, "I felt scared because I was concerned my arm was badly swollen. I'm confused about why I was attacked by them. I was doing nothing to affect them. I'm just trying to live my life and this has affected me." Police were called and 3 of them were arrested. Amber Dunn kicked the back window of a police car, damaging it. Colin Dunn, who has 44 previous convictions, pleaded guilty to robbery and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Curtis Wiscombe, who has 5 previous convictions, admitted racially aggravated harassment, alarm or distress, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. And Amber Dunn, who has 53 previous convictions, admitted assault occasioning actual bodily harm and criminal damage. Colin Dunn, from South Shields, was jailed for 40 months, and Wiscombe, 27, was locked up for 20 months. Amber Dunn, 25, will be sentenced at a later date when mitigation on her behalf will also be heard. Stephen Bennett. Stephen Bennett was given a community order for a racially aggravated public order offence. Stephen, a 32-year-old dad, was intoxicated on the metro, and he was drinking a can of lager when a security guard approached him and asked him to stop. But the 32-year-old dad said no and began acting aggressively towards the man, making references to Mozambique before screaming, "I've lived in this country all my life, get off my metro." Bennett then began shadowboxing and offered to fight the security guard in front of other passengers. The incident, which lasted minutes, only ended when one passenger told Bennett to stop. Bennett, who is from Forest Hall, North Tyneside, appeared at the Newcastle Magistrates Court this week, facing a racially aggravated public order offence. He pleaded guilty to the offence, which happened on August the 26th last year. The court had heard that Bennett was consuming alcohol on the metro between South Gosforth and Benton around 9 p.m. when he was approached by a security guard due to it being prohibited. Bushra Begum, prosecuting, said the victim advised the defendant to stop consuming alcohol and vacate the metro. This resulted in the defendant becoming confrontational and shouting at the victim. The security guard's body-worn camera footage captured the incident and was shown in court. It showed a drunken Bennett saying he was singing my national anthem and asking what religion the victim was. He also made references to Mozambique and that the man was a minority. He then began screaming at the victim, telling him, "I've lived in this country all my life, get off my metro." Mr. Kashif Khan, who was defending Bennett, said that on the night of the incident, a family matter caused Bennett to drink alcohol to deal with his emotions, causing him to act in a way he would not have done ordinarily. He said Bennett had mental health issues and was ashamed of his actions, adding, "The defendant's child's mother is of Caribbean race. He wishes he can apologise to the victim directly." Bennett was given a 12-month community order and must complete 20 rehabilitation days. A 6-month electronic curfew between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. was also made. He must also pay a £150 compensation, a £150 surcharge, and £85 costs. A white supremacist by the name of Ian Delaney was a member of the Aryan Strike Force, and he had set up a website for the group which promoted violence against non-white ethnic groups and children. He was released in June 2014, but is subject to notification requirements under the Terrorism Act until the year 2045. This means he must keep the authorities informed about his internet access, phone devices, banking, and other aspects of his day-to-day life. Ian Delaney, aka Ian Davidson, is a white supremacist who once kept a chemical weapon in his kitchen cupboard, and he has been sent back to prison for having the most horrific child abuse images. He was sent back in April 2024. Carl Turnbull. Carl Turnbull admitted a racially aggravated assault which left a taxi driver with a broken finger after assaulting him after he drove from Byker to Forest Hall. The victim was working for Blue Line Taxis when he was called to pick up Carl Turnbull and a woman from Byker around 1 a.m. on September the 26th, 2021. Turnbull said he would direct the cabbie to Forest Hall North Tyneside rather than giving a destination and paid a £10 deposit. The victim said during the journey the defendant made disapproving comments about the number of or proportion of black people or immigrants in the area. In his basis of plea, Turnbull said he remarked about the West End being multicultural and says he didn't mean discourtesy. Turnbull told him to stop in Forest Hall and was told that the bill was £14. The woman with him went to pay with her card, but Turnbull stopped her. There was then a dispute about what the fare should be. Turnbull then got out of his car and called the driver a black and repeatedly kicked the taxi. He said he was trying to retrieve his phone, which was still inside the vehicle. Deborah Smithies, prosecuting, said the victim got out to look for damage and there was a physical confrontation. The defendant confronted him, tried to goad him, pushed him and punched him once on the face. The victim shouted for some bystanders to call the police and someone did, so as the sirens approached, Turnbull ran off. The taxi driver suffered a broken little finger and pain to his face, and there were dents and scratches to his car. He found his attacker by searching Facebook for people called Carl in Newcastle. Flicking through profiles until he found the face he recognized about a month after the attack. He said in a victim impact statement, "The entire incident has left me feeling very distressed. I feel the language used towards me was specifically targeting my ethnicity, and if I was white, this would not have happened. It's affected me at my work because I'm anxious when I'm collecting customers. I'm anxious that this will happen again. I might end up hurt, or someone might try to take my money. However, I need to work because I must provide for my family." It is worth noting that Turnbull from Gateshead had 36 previous convictions. He claimed he couldn't remember using the racial slur, but said he must have done so in the heat of the moment, as he was really angry that his phone was still in the taxi. He pleaded guilty to racially aggravated assault, occasioning actual bodily harm and criminal damage, and was sentenced to 12 weeks, suspended for 2 years, and must do a thinking skills program.